Each of the first 2 rounds gave us a game that had a dramatic finish, and round 3 continued that trend. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. For me, I think round 3 was probably a better round than round 2 on the balance of, I think, when you take each of the games and kind of compare them, I think we had a bit more drama this time. Obviously, plenty of drama at the end of the France and Scotland game, in the second round. But I think this time we had a little bit more drama overall, and I think probably a little bit more quality overall as well. I think the games were more enjoyable to watch, and we had, most of the teams had something about them, at least for some period in the games. So today we're going to talk about each of the games briefly. So when I say briefly for me, like maybe 5 to 8 minutes per game, round about that. If you want more on each of the games, I have a review of each of the 3 games up in the channel as well, so you can watch those for more in-depth stuff, including stats, etc. We won't go into any stats really today, but what we will do today is we talk about some individual performances of players that I thought did fairly well. I will miss out a lot of players because I can't talk about everyone, but if I do miss out somebody, again, as I said before, just point it out to me, that you thought this player had a good game, and then I'll keep an eye out for that player in the next round of games as well. I always like, when people kind of steer my eye towards somebody that maybe I've overlooked or something, and I can have another look at them and, kind of notice things that maybe I missed before. But we're going to start with the Ireland game. So it was Ireland 31, Wales 7. So, Ireland start off, they, putting pressure on Wales, but not able to get over really for a score in that first quarter. Wales doing pretty well defensively, but then Dan Sheehan does get over, just at the end of the first quarter, converted by Jack Crowley, and Ireland looking pretty decent. That was added to, they were obviously leading through a Jack Crowley penalty early on as well, but 10-0 lead there, and it felt in the first half Ireland were probably better than they were in the second half, and part of that was down, I think, to Wales' performance as well in that second half. But James Lowe as well gets over in just as we're coming towards halftime, maybe like less than 10 minutes to go to the break, and Crowley converts it as well. So Ireland are leading 17-0 at halftime and looking pretty decent. They still haven't hit top gear, and I'm at the moment, like now, I'm wondering whether they're going to hit top gear at all in this Six Nations, because it feels like at the moment, at least, that they don't have to hit top gear to put away sides pretty comfortably. And that's, as an Irish fan, that's a little bit scary to think that, because I'm not used to Ireland being this good. I'm used to, like, obviously in recent years, Ireland having a decent team, but at the moment it feels like that they've maybe gone to a different level, that normally you would reserve for the likes of the Springboks or the All Blacks, etc., in terms of when they're in the real pomp. So it's nice to be there as an Irish fan, but it's just not a comfortable place to be in just because you're not used to it, if you know what I mean. But second half then, Wales start to put pressure on. They get a penalty try. And one thing I will say is somebody has to fix the match summary things that almost everyone I see, like even the official one, doesn't actually list penalty tries. And it's just weird to me. Like, why doesn't somebody figure out? It's probably because they have some kind of score computing thing or something that, a try is 5 points or whatever. But why not just have another line for penalty tries then? And just put it in that way. Because it looks like Wales, if you looked at the scores, it looks like Wales scored nothing in the game. But obviously they got 7 points for the penalty try. Tadhg Beirne sent to the bin on that one. But then he comes back on after his, being sin-binned, and then he prevents a try and turns the ball over just as Wales were pushing for a second try. And that was kind of when the, that kind of resistance or the resurgence from the Welsh kind of broke, and then Ireland started taking control again. They had a try chalked off. I think it was Aki went over, or was it Crowley? One of them went over anyway, but the try got chalked off. Then, a little while later, then Frawley goes over to score. Just Ireland just piling pressure on. Then Wales, the last few minutes, then have another little kind of resurgence from them, but they can't get over. And then Ireland actually managed to go up the other end, and Ty Byrne goes over for the bonus point try. Again, not perfect from Ireland, but still a decent performance, and they looked pretty comfortable in the end. And I thought it was who was it? I think it's Rian Lowe posted just a little clip of the build up to the Ty Byrne try, focusing on it was Dylan Lewis, right? Was it Dylan? I think it was Dylan Lewis, right? Let me check the thing here, the lineups. Yeah, it was Dylan Lewis. Just him being absolutely out on his feet, and how Ireland kept targeting his channel to run down. And then just if you watch it back, you see just as Ty Byrne is going through that gap to score, he actually doesn't even try to put in a tackle. He's that tired, and ends up falling over the player that did try to tackle Byrne. So it's just a little bit funny there, just not in terms of just laughing at Wales, just laughing at kind of the situation he found himself in. You kind of feel a lot of sympathy for him as well, honestly, because if I was out there, even for if I had to do it for 30 seconds, I'd be absolutely destroyed. But let's talk about performances then from this game. So we start with Wales. I thought, the front row went okay, in terms of, we've seen them, these guys, especially Azarati, coming off the bench and having really good impact. But as a starter, maybe not as good an impact. But look at the front row they were up against as well. So I think they didn't kind of do a disservice to themselves, I think there. Second row then of Jenkins and Beard had their moments in the game, but overall, I think they were outplayed by their opposite number. Same with the back row, really. We've seen, especially Reffell and Wainwright being really to the fore for Wales. And they did some decent stuff in this game as well, like Reffell getting some turnovers, Wainwright giving them some go forward as well, but just not the impact that they had in other games. And that's just about the quality that they were against, I think, there. But you can see that as a unit, including Alex Mann in there, it's a decent back row unit that just, it needs more game time together, I think. And just, learning from this, I think Ireland, a few years ago had the same thing where it had quality players, a lot of the players who were there still there now. And I kind of learned the fact that, against the really top teams, there's an extra level that you got to find in yourself, and only when you're presented with that and you're challenged with that can you then kind of learn from that and see if you can actually reach that. So I think that's where this Welsh team are at the moment, is that that they're obviously kind of early on in their journey, and I think they're going to get better. And it's a decent unit there. Hopefully they can keep them together and not chop and change all the time, because that's, I think, where a lot of kind of the nations who are trying to improve go wrong, is trying too many players and churning, and then you never get a settled unit there that can actually work together and improve together as well. Then Costello, he did okay, but still, that 10 jersey, it still feels like Gatland hasn't decided who his starting 10 is. Lloyd, when he come on, didn't have the impact we've seen before from him, but in fairness, Wales are kind of flagging at that stage of the game anyway, so it was hard for him to have huge impact off the bench. Rio Dyer looked lively as always. He's the kind of player that doesn't matter how the rest of the team are doing. Normally, if if he gets a chance, he's just going to, make those breaks and maybe get those tries as well. Cameron Winnett, I thought, was excellent at fullback, and he looks like a real long-term solution there for Wales as well. So hopefully he stays fit, through the rest of the Six Nations, into their summer tour, and then into the autumn internationals, gets like a full season of Test rugby under his belt. I think from that, then next year you're going to see him basically, nobody will argue about the fullback for Wales if he's fit and available, I think, at that stage. From the bench then, there wasn't huge impact, honestly, from the bench, because they kind of come on at the point where Ireland were turning the game anyway. I think the Irish bench kind of outshone them as well. So, for me, nobody really stood out. Again, I think Eoin Lloyd wasn't as good as previous. Kieran Hardy maybe a little bit at 9, and Mackenzie Martin, I thought, was probably the best player off the bench for Wales. But again, another player who he needs more time in a Test jersey, I think, to really show what he can do. On the Irish side then, front row went well. It's good to see, especially the props Porter and Furlong actually being, in decent form at the moment, and I think they're much better than they were last year. Second row then, probably two of the best players on the pitch. McCarthy and Tyke Byrne was just out of this world excellent. Then back row, they still had good impact, but kind of quiet compared to the rest of the team, but still just efficiency and getting on with things. And sometimes when players are at the level of the likes of Caelan Doris, like you're almost expecting superhuman performances every week. And when they do really well, it kind of feels just normal, if you know what I mean. So then Jack Crowley, at this stage, I don't think there can be a debate about 10 in Ireland at the minute. Like the guy is just to the manner born. I think James Lowe, another excellent game from him. Bundy Aki, the guy, how many man the match or player of the match awards has he won in his last whatever many tests? Like, he must have won probably 75% in the last 10 games or something like that. That sort of feels like, at least. Robbie Henshaw there doing well in the continued absence of Gary Ringrose. And there's, like, given that we had decent impact from McCluskey from the bench as well, there's a real debate around like who the centre combinations for Ireland, and it's great to see so much competition really for places. And you have to say Bundy Aki again really has, I think, stepped up in the last year or so, because when you look at it, previously you would have said that Henshaw and Ringrose were the starting partnership and Aki was there to cover, and then if anybody was kind of under pressure with somebody like McCluskey coming onto the scene, it would have been Aki, maybe because McCluskey would be a better option off the bench. But Aki, he's got the 12 shirt, and now it's between the others to fight over 13, I think, right now. Calvin Nash, doing well in his debut season, I feel. Kieran Frawley brought in, obviously, because of the injury to Keenan. I thought did really well at fullback. But I think once Keenan is fit and available again, he's going to drop back down to 23, and just because of his versatility, he's going to be 23 probably if he's available for the rest of the tournament, and that probably means that McCluskey will drop out of the matchday squad, which is kind of a little bit disappointing, because you want to see McCluskey getting more game time, but you want to see everyone in the squad getting good game time. Then off the bench, then I thought Keane Healy was good, Kelleher as well, Ollie Yeager, great debut performance from him. James Ryan, I thought, wasn't good as normal. He got the yellow card as well. Ryan Baird, he's looking more impressive every time I see him. Jack Conan, just those lovely hands. Conor Murray, I would have liked to see Casey being on the bench, but you can't argue with Murray's performance, I think, and we talked about McCluskey already. So yeah, this game, I think Ireland, Wales put it up to them for a while, but Ireland just have that ability to, go again, and they're just so fit, and you can see Wales are blowing there at the end, and I didn't think we were going to get the bonus point try, but we did in the end. On to the next game then. So it is Scotland 30, England 21. So England started this one very well. Lovely set move off the back of a scrum, gets George Furbank over to score. I thought they did really well in terms of, just pulling that Scottish defence out of position and then creating the space for Furbank to go over. But then, I obviously added a penalty through Ford as well. Then Scotland start coming back. Duhan van der Merwe, like, he gets a hat-trick in the game. That was, I think it was a second try, right, where he goes, Furbank knocks the ball on, ball's passed out to van der Merwe. He goes around Earl on the outside and he just burns Furbank as well down the wing. And then just a dramatic dive into the corner, just to make it look even better for a potential try of the year against England. Same way that he got last year, but the guy really is a top class finisher. And the fact that it's not just a case of giving the ball close to the try line, he's finishing from his own half and everything, and he's in just amazing form. And Scotland were just so clinical compared to England in that game. England, they're apart from like the two tries they got, like the Furbank one really well worked. The Faye Waboso tried then, some decent work as well to get him over. But other than that, their attack looked a little bit toothless. We know about the Felix Jones coming in there as new defensive coach, etc., and that's a little bit in transition on that one. But I just thought Scotland were just so much more clinical than England and took their chances. And what Scotland did as well, which we haven't seen from them up to now in the tournament, is that they're winning at half time, but then they actually outscored their opponents in the second half and pulled further away. And I think that was a key for Scotland to be able to do that. That the fact that England started coming back a little bit, but then Scotland were able to just kind of eke out with a couple of penalties as well, and just make it kind of a bit easier for them. And then by the time we kind of got to the end, there was no sweating on TMO decisions or anything like that, because they had the game tied up. So that's, I think, a good evolution for Scotland, but they need to keep that up in the future rounds as well. In terms of then performances, well, we start with the losing team again. So we start with England. I thought that the back row were a little bit quiet. Underhill, I thought, had a decent game, but Roots and Earl not up to the quality that we've seen from them in the opening two rounds, really. The front row then kind of in and out of the game, I would say, from them. Second row, Itoje and Chesham. Itoje had some impact on the breakdown, etc. But as kind of Scotland started to get a little bit more on top, the influence of both of them kind of waned a little bit as well in the game. George Ford at 10, he looked good when England looked good, really. With the especially that first try being involved in there, and then his kicking as well was decent. The rest of the back line then, or like the from the wing out, Daly's kind of solid on the wing there. He showed good pace though in the build up to the Furbank try. Centre combination, Lawrence and Slade, they weren't amazing, but I think that they definitely warrant another go there. As a team kind of gels a little bit more. You want to see established combinations, and you don't want to see this thing of, well, that's, you know, we didn't do too well in attack, so let's change the center combination again, and then again, and then again, and then again. You're never going to get anywhere doing that. You want, you know, established center combination, and then if somebody forces their way in on form, and then you have actual competition, kind of similar to the way we talked about the Ireland centres, that's fine. But this whole thing of, you know, give somebody a go and it doesn't work, well, chuck them out of the squad and bring somebody else in and keep doing it every time, it is not going to be a good long-term plan for England. Freeman first. Freeman, you know, not an amazing game for him, but he's kind of, he's still, what is this, like third game in a row that he started or wherever, or I think he started all three, right? You know, so he's finding his feet, I think, at this level. Furbank at fullback as well. I don't know whether now, are they going to switch back to Stewart at fullback, or especially against Ireland, or are they going to keep him in there? Because, you know, there were some good signs from him, there were some poor things from him, like handling, you know, at times a bit suspect, but also England's passing overall was poor as well. Just firing balls at people, not really the best way to do it when you're not. You can see that they're not all on the same page, you know, and maybe the passes need to be a little bit more sympathetic. Then off the bench, thought George Martin was okay. Cunningham South again. Faye-Wowosi obviously got his try, but, you know, and then Finn Smith I thought was okay off the bench as well, but you know, the kind of a bit of a testing time for him. On to then the Scottish team. So Schumann, excellent again. Sander Fagerson, he you know, he's kind of been in and out of the tournament so far, and again in this one, you know, some good, some bad. I thought George Turner pretty solid at 2. The second row doing Gilchrist I thought was good, but Cummings, I thought had an excellent game in there. He looked really impressive to me. Jamie Ritchie, Rory Darge, both kind of threats at the breakdown. Jack Dempsey really good carrying for them. Ben White was decent at 9, and looks like, you know, that's a good combination with him and Russell now. Russell was excellent at 10, open play, you know, tackle, kicking, and from the tee as well. Duhan van der Merwe, just out of this world. You know, he doesn't always get a huge amount of ball, but the ball that he gets, he really makes the most of it. I thought Tuipulotu and Jones did really well too. And you can see that combination coming back together too, and that's got to be, you know, good for Scotland. Although Tuipulotu, he went off injured right at half time, so he came out for the second half and was off after like about 30 seconds or something. So hopefully it's, you know, just a knock and he's not out for the rest of the tournament, because those guys were just starting to click again. Kyle Stain and Kinghorn coming back into the team, although Rowe and Patterson did well in their absence. You know, these two guys I think lifted the team a little bit more in terms of what to give the team and the threat that they give them. But Rowe and Patterson should absolutely still be involved in, you know, in the squad at some point as well. So we want to see them getting more game time too. And then off the bench then, Miller Mills was decent. I think Sam Skinner as well. Christie, you know, it's a while for him, I think, to kind of establish himself there. Ben Healy got on for a while at centre as well. Cam Redpath, I thought, you know, he did well when he come on as well, you know, for Tuipulotu. I think he come on and then he went off, and then he came back on, I think, right? But yeah, I think he did a fairly decent job. Like he made the burst, right, for, was it the third try, I think. Yeah, he went on the burst for the third try. That one. So just that alone was worth it, I think, from him. But yeah, overall, I think Scotland certainly the happier of the two after that. And then on to the final game of the weekend, which was France 13, Italy 13. So, you know, France starting really well. Charles Olivon over after 6 minutes, and they're really putting pressure on Italy. And, you know, Toma Ramos with a penalty as well. And, you know, Italy, they had chances to get points on the board, but they kept going to the corner, and it just wasn't working out for them, you know. And they did get a penalty, wasn't it? Yeah, they scored a penalty before half time. It was like 10-3 at half time. Then Ramos extends the lead on 44 minutes. To 13-3, but then that was the last time Italy scored in the game, or sorry, France scored in the game, and then Italy start coming back to them. We have the you know, Ange Caboto try and got them right back into it. Had a Paolo Garbisi, sorry, my tongue is tied for some reason, penalty as well a few minutes before that, and you know, Garbisi then converts from the touchline, squares everything up going into the last 10 minutes. Then we obviously had the red card as well, you know, for Dante, which obviously had an impact on the game. But you know, some people say that in kind of a negative way for the team that had the red card. But the way I look at it is that it's nobody's fault other than Dante that they got a red card. And so, you know, when you think of it that way, that, you know, that you can't kind of look at it and say that, you know, that maybe France would have gone on and won, we've had to got the red card, because it's one of these ones where if, but, and whatever, right? So the red card, I think, was deserved, and Italy so close in the end, have that penalty right at the death. It's a closed roof, so I don't know how the ball fell off the tee, but the ball falls off the tee with like 10 or 12 seconds left. Garbisi doesn't have enough time to put it back on the tee, compose himself properly and slot it over. So he kicks it, he gives it, you know, gets under it a lot. You could see that it hits the post. There was some talk about, you know, the French players charging early as well, and then the kick should have been taken again. And it, you know, from what I've seen, maybe there's merit in that, certainly. But just the way that game finished was crazy, and you know, I don't think anyone at the time, at least, was even thinking in that regard. It was just kind of, okay, play on, and then France get the ball off the pitch and we're done. You know, so I don't know whether, you know, with something like that, do you want like the, you know, TMO? I don't even know if the TMO is allowed to step in for that. You know, because obviously the on-field officials certainly didn't spot it. And then, given that it was in France, they weren't going to be shown too many replays of, you know, early charges and stuff like that. And that's no slight on the French broadcasters. That's the same with every, I think, home broadcaster, that, you know, if there's something a little bit controversial right at the end of the game against your team, you're not going to be showing the replays. And also, not just that, you're not really thinking about that. It would have been like, if it was in Italy, the Italians would have obviously seen it straight away, because they're looking at it from their point of view, as it were, whereas the French are just looking at it from the point of view, okay, the ball's in play, are we going to concede a try now, or are we going to get the ball off the pitch? Whereas the Italians would be, oh no, we missed the kick, but look, those guys are charging early. And then the TV where the TV broadcaster would be like replaying the French, you know, close-up angles of the French guys charging early, etc. So that's just the way it is at the moment, and everybody has that, you know, that's part of home advantage, I think, for good or bad. But, you know, it would have been a historic win for Italy. The saying came so close to it, but, you know, for me, it was a historic win that could have happened. but it's only delayed. It's definitely going to happen at this stage. You can see how much better Italy are getting year on year now. And if you're paying any attention to the under-20s, like the under-20s beat France under-20s. So, you know, there's a wave of real talent coming into these Italian ranks over the next few years. And, you know, it's not going to be that long before they start picking up away wins against the teams that they haven't beaten away in this competition, which I think is Ireland, France, and they've never beaten England, so England as well. So, you know, they're going to definitely knock over one of those three in the next few years, and I don't think it'll be too long before they've got at least one away win against every one of the you know, opponents in the Six Nations for them as well. Let's talk about then some of the performances. So on the French side, I thought early on the likes of Boy, Mauvaka and Antonio had huge impact. They obviously came off early, and then the bench that come on were supposed to kind of bring them home, but we didn't see as much impact from the bench for them, from the likes of Marchand, Taufi Fanua and Al Dahiri, who all come on with more than 30 minutes to go. Then the second row, you know, they've had a lot of, you know, injuries and stuff, but I thought, you know, Tulagi, some real glimpses from him, lovely hands, and not just kind of impact in the carry either. Then makeshift kind of back row for them, but you know, Olivon did well. He got a try, right? Yeah, he got the try for France. But yeah, he had a decent game. Baudin was decent too, and Kroos. So there's just so much talent in France. It's just the talent is there. It's just the team isn't functioning, I think. Then Luku and Jalabert off injured. That's a real worry for France, I think. Then Matthias Lebel, you know, he come on. Biel Barry was down to start, so he obviously got injured, which is a bit of, you know, because he looked like he was in real form. Lebel, you know, not a huge amount of impact. Dante then obviously with the red card for him with that tackle on Brex. Fico I thought was decent at times. Pinot, always dangerous when he gets the ball, but maybe in games like this can kind of drift out of it a bit. Ramos always good from the tee and decent under high ball. And then from the bench, like, we didn't see a whole amount of impact really from them. Like Mo Fana had to come on at 10, he's a player who can play a lot of different positions well, but maybe not up to the standard of Jalabert at 10. And obviously the fact that his team were increasingly on the back foot as well makes it very difficult for him. For Italy then, front row, Fischetti, Nicotera and Zolaki, they did okay. They were under pressure obviously early on against the French front row, but then they started to turn it a little bit into their own favour. Then Canone and Ruzza, I think they're a really good combination at second row, and I want to see more and more of them. Then the back row again for Italy is kind of a makeshift one. So you had, even more so actually than France's. Fabretto was okay. Lauro, excellent as always. Ross Vincent, it was him, right? He was doing an interview after the game and talking about how he was delivering pizzas like a couple of months ago or something, or a few weeks ago even. And talking about maybe he'll have to go back to delivering pizzas, but I don't think so. Not based on this performance. He was really good in that back row. Then I want to see Italy kind of sort out the 9. That they've had 3 different 9s now in 3 games, so they need to decide who that 9 is Garbisi now has the 10 shirt, just find him a partner that he can work together with. And I think that's going to be to the benefit of the entire team. Montiwani always, gives them good go forward and makes, meters after contact as well. Maury, another partner for Brex there in the centres, and Brex is definitely the 13. They need to find a 12 to go with him then. Manoncello, I thought, did well filling in on the wing, but again, right wing is a bit of a problem position for them. Capozzo, some moments of danger, and obviously he got over for the try, right, as well. Yeah, he did. And then from the bench, I thought the bench certainly had more impact than we saw from France. Like the replacement front row, I thought really started to get them parity in the set piece, etc. Did help that France for the scrums sometimes went with 7 in the scrum in order to match up the backs, but still I thought they did a decent job. Then Canali and Zambonin, also coming on, not huge experience, but still doing well. Zuliani, he probably feels like he should have been a starter in that game, but still did decent. Varney, another guy who could be the 9, and then Marine as well. Not often in the squad, in the matchday squads, but still did decent when he come on. Okay, so that is our look at each of the games. Now let's have a quick look at the table. So at the top there, we've got Ireland 3 from 3, and also the maximum amount of points as well. 3 bonus point wins for 15 points. And because of that, if Ireland actually were to beat England with a bonus point in the next round, it means that would be it. The title would be secured, and then they would be only thinking about trying to get the Grand Slam after that. So that's how dominant they've been in the opening 3 rounds. Obviously, defeat in Twickenham and suddenly what seems like almost a procession at the moment to the title becomes something very different. So, and that's the great thing about this competition, I think, is that one result can just turn everything on its head. But at the moment, Ireland doing really well at the top. Next is Scotland on 9 points there. I think at the moment at least, the only realistic team who could knock Ireland off that top spot and take the title off them. Again, weird results though can change things very quickly. But at the moment, it feels like Scotland are almost in like a mini battle to try and win as the runners up, if you like, to win the rest of the Six Nations. But still, they'd be, I think, obviously you want to win titles, but a second place finish will be very strong for them. So if they can maintain that through the rest of the tournament, they'd be fairly happy. England, slipped down to 3rd place. Grand Slam chances gone for them. It felt like though the way the team doesn't look anywhere near the Freelance article, that it was just a matter of time until they lost the game, and whether it was going to be against Scotland or whether it was Ireland or France, it felt like they weren't going to win all 3 of those, to be honest. But still, for a team that is, it's hard to say that they're kind of in transition, but not in transition, if that makes sense, because obviously they've got same head coach there that they've had, so he's had time in the job, but then they've brought in new coaches, they've brought in some new players, etc. And some of the transition is kind of self-inflicted as well, if you like. So I kind of, for England, I have to say, my opinion on them changes almost week to week, I have to say. So we'll just leave it there and we'll see how they go against Ireland in the next round. France then almost in a little bit of a no man's land there in 4th place. Not really with any kind of outside chance even of they could potentially get to 16 points, but you can't see you can't see like the three teams above them all finishing with less than 16 points. So no chance of the title for them. And, you know, they could be almost looking down at the two teams below them at the minute and trying to finish ahead of them. That's how bad they've been in the tournament. I think they deserve to lose against Italy. They deserve to lose against Scotland as well. They should really be probably at the foot of the table at this point, but they're where they are because, you know, they took their chances in the games when they had them. Wales then in fifth place there, you know, will take some heart out of the Ireland result, but now Italy are creeping up on them, and it looks like that Wales-Italy game is going to be a humdinger when those two come together. Italy still at the bottom of the table, but now on the same amount of points as Wales, and you know, it's only points difference and not a huge amount of points difference between them, honestly. So you know, they're definitely going to be targeting that game against Wales for a win and to finish, you know, off the bottom of the table. But that is the end of our look at round 3. We will have a preview of you know, round 4 next week. You know, we've got URC stuff coming up this week. If I have time, I will do some more Six Nations stats. The problem is that it's a lot of work to do a stats video compared to a video like this. And, you know, it depends on whether, you know, people actually want to see a stats video every round, or whether they'd like to see it kind of, you know, maybe one at the end of the tournament or something like that. So I'll have to think about that. And maybe if you want to, like, you know, post your comments there. If you do want to see a stats video, what stats do you want me to kind of, or areas, not specific stats, but areas would you like me to look at in terms of stats? But that's the end of that one, and I'll see you guys on the next one.